talking about these industrial corridors that being set up with the purpose to provide the cost efficiency, to provide the time efficiency. Along with the same, there are certain dedicated freight corridors within these industrial corridors that the purpose is to serve is that, to provide a fillip to the growth, to provide a fillip to the multimodal transportation structure, which talks about PM Gati Shakti Yojana, right. So, the vision is the government is that to provide the logistical efficiency. So, that is why these industrial corridor projects being outlined by the government. Further on, going on to is your national infrastructure pipeline, which is your first of kind initiative by the government to provide world class infrastructure across the country. Now, this, as we know that out of all the mode of your transportation, be it your land, be it your sea, be it your air, right, all out of all these transportation, pipeline is most cost effective, right. So, that is why the government's vision is to make sure that we have sort of very integrated pipeline structure that will attract investments, right, and that will also help the government attain this cost efficiency. So, this NIP, this National Infrastructure Pipeline Policy, it will attract the investments into the nation, and it will attract the investments into the infrastructure and will be very crucial of attaining this vision of India becoming a 5 trillion USD 5 trillion economy by financial year 2025. Further on, there have been around 9700 projects across different sectors, and with a share of your USD 3993 USD 3093.51 billion that have been identified across the nations, and these projects will be focusing on to what is that it will bring in the key investments and into the sectors such as your energy and roads, urban, railways, and these all sectors are being taking up the 71% of the projected infrastructure investments in India. So, the some of these sectors that being identified by the government is to focus, is to boost the infrastructure projects, infrastructural investments in India, that okay, through these sectors that there would be greater opportunities to fund out the infrastructure investments in India. Further on, there being an equity infusion of almost 6,000 crore that have been made into national investment and infrastructure funds, and these funds will be do what is they will attract the debt and equity investments into infrastructure. So, why these equity being infused into these national investment and infrastructure funds is that they will make sure that you through this you are able to attract more of debt and equity investments into the infrastructure. And infrastructure is what we are basically more of looking for, the more of the investments into the nations, right. Further, that there being India Industrial Land Bank. Now, this India Industrial Land Bank is doing what is, it is like a repository wherein you have the database of all the industrial lands that are available with the government. That means कितनी lands हैं जो गवर्नमेंट के पास अवेलेबल है, उसका पूरा you will be having a database. So, you will be having a repository in the form of your industrial infrastructure that the government is having, and that will entail the information with respect to your all the industrial parks that being mapped across the area of your 5.5 lakh hectares of land, and almost 4,000 industrial parks have been identified. And this will do what is that these industrial land bank will give you the crude idea about okay, these being the lands that being available with the government, and they can be utilized for a purpose of setting up the industrial parks, STP parks. So, the identification process has been done using this IILB, and which will be key for further investments. Further, you can see the positioning of India with respect to its global competitiveness index. Now, India being positioned at 68th rank when it comes for global competitiveness index. Now, when we say is India positioning, obviously there being number of factors that being responsible for the same. Your ICT is one of the same, health, education, right, governance. So all these factors do what is, it leads to convey the competitiveness of India. So over the period, India has jumped the places. India has risen to this point where it has attained an index or in a a rank of your 68th. So yeah, again there's a lot of potential in India to achieve the high places, to achieve the top notch positions. So these parameters which being reflected through your global competitive index, it reflects upon that what is the positioning of India, how is India growing, what being the key areas where we need to focus more. For example, we need to focus on to ICT, we need to focus on to various other segmentations like your health and education, so that this competitiveness of index of India is further boosted up, right. Next we can say is that not just to your this India attaining this index, now the positioning has changed, that India's ranks is almost, when it comes to global competitive index, it has further jumped the places, it has been ranked 39th. So surely because of these schemes that being implemented by the government time and again to boost the infrastructure, to boost the growth, to provide more leverage to the people, to the export sector, and through these timely interventions by the government and through these strategical policies choices by the government, India is able to hold its position, predominant position in the marketplace. Plus India has jumped 6 places to become the 38th in World Bank's Logistical Performance Index 2023. So that means that with respect to our LPI, we are really improving. We are improving in every domain, be it your providing logistical infrastructure, with respect to rules and regulations, with respect to digital creation of digital database. So these being the key primary areas through which our progress can be gauged into, we can look into that how far far India has been, has covered the journey, and how far India is being doing with respect to its logistical performance, or be it your competitiveness into the market. So also the India is one of such nation that has implemented the largest social security program through its Aadhaar scheme. So almost 1.35 billion people being covered under the Aadhaar scheme. Now what do we mean that if they being covered under the Aadhaar scheme is that they are able to get most of the benefits that being given or dispersed through your these social security programs. So whatever social security programs we talk about, they being covered only through this your Aadhaar scheme. So if you are having your KYC done, so you can avail of multiple benefits that being given by the government with respect to various social security programs. Further, the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, that was what, that was the formalization of your saving scheme, under which almost 529 million bank accounts have been opened. So not just this Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana has pushed our CRISIL index, has pushed our global withstanding. When referring to global Findex database, you will see that this very scheme introduced in India way back in 2014, now it has covered almost a decade, this very scheme. So this has surely formed a bridge between connecting the unbanked with the banking segmentation, and including them under the ambit of financial inclusion. So by that we are bringing more of the segmentation of the people with the formal banking structure. We are inducting them with a bouquet of banking services, be it your insurance, credit, your overdraft, your deposit services. Every sort of our services are being given through these bank accounts, and they being saved out of all those exorbitant rates that being charged to them by zamindars, by any other traders. So through this bank account, it's not just one bank account, it is rather a bouquet of services that are being coupled with this one bank account. You get the leverage through Atal Pension Yojana, you get the benefit of your DBT schemes, you get the benefit of n number of schemes that being enrolled under your DBT plans. So through that, what being possible is that that has created an ecosystem for the public, that through this one bank account you can get multiple benefits. You can apply for the loan, you can apply for subsidized interest rate, you can apply for any schemes that being introduced by the government for the women, for the marginalized sections, for the cooperative houses, for the small scale enterprises. So this Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana has been considered one of the landmark schemes that has connected the people from the marginalized sections of the society to the mainstream. So this being one that approach, that being a flag bearer, and that being a flag bearer of inducting the people into the formal banking system. So this number of studies being conducted to just weigh the impact of this particular scheme onto the economic empowerment, onto the social empowerment of people, and they have concluded with the fact that yes, this scheme has been very instrumental in pushing the economic and social empowerment of the people, and moreover it has save the people from those debt traps, save the people from those exorbitant rates, and provided them multiple schemes which being implemented by the government time and again, and also helped in reducing the existence of your duplicate accounts in form of your ghost identities. So this very scheme is being applauded around the world, because this has pushed our positioning with respect to our placing into the financial inclusion index. So further on, when we talk about these schemes like PM Jan Dhan Yojana or social security benefits being linked to the same, this has not just being one of the scheme that just ensured the financial inclusion, but also it has improvised the financial health of the people. They have started saving into the bank accounts. That very habit of saving into the bank accounts have been inculcated in the people. So that is why it is very instrumental, right? Further is that the biggest tax reforms being implemented in India, which created a very common national market wherein all the indirect taxes are being integrated and subsumed by the GST, that is your goods and services tax. Now this is the biggest reform since independence, and that talks about one nation, one tax, right? So what do we do, including the state of Jammu and Kashmir? We talk about that there will be one rate that will be applicable for that category of your product and your services. So you belong to any part of the region in India, you belong to any segmentation, the same set of rates will be charged to you. You buy a piece of product, if it is 18% in Delhi, it will be 18% in Punjab, it will be 18% in any village of Rajasthan also. So the structure is like that we talk about, that there will not be multiplicity of taxes, rather you are going to get the input tax credit onto the taxes that you have already paid in the previous stage. So you are eliminating that cascading effect by introducing this ITC mechanism, which earlier was not there. Earlier there were multiplicity of taxes before the very introduction of your GST. There were number of taxes that were prevailing, there were number of you could say compliances that the person has to comply with, number of returns that needed to be complied with. So with the onboarding of your GST, all those sub taxes are being subsumed, and there being now one structure through which one network, one portal which being operated through your GST network. So through which all your returns can be handled, they can be taken care of at one place, right? And it will create a very digital database wherein you need not to create multiple book records, rather there is a digital cataloging, there is a digital journalizing of your books of account. So that means it is one of the major reforms in that being considered with respect to your taxation reforms. Plus, moreover, this is a destination based tax, as you know, compared to your earlier taxes which were more of your consumption based. So, this is a destination based tax. That means that the place where the goods are finally being they have reached to a point, so that being the very place where the taxes will be charged upon. And then this has your further segregations, like GST will be in the form of your CGST, UTGST, SGST, IGST, right. So, this sort of reforms, which is the key in pushing the positioning of India as an investment choice, right. Further, you can look on to the rise into the global innovation index. So, you can see that we have been rising, we have been climbing the places, and when it comes to global innovation index, we have secured the 40th position. So, see from how far we are going up, how fair we are doing up with respect to its positioning. When it comes to innovation, we are with onboarding of schemes like Startup India, Skill India, Digital India, you know, the government is giving impetus to those who have the requisite skills. So, government is appreciating, it is applauding the innovation, it is sort of recognizing the efforts of the people with respect to that. If they have an idea, if they want to create something, now it's comparatively much easier because of the government support. So, now you can see that from being in 80 onto the 81th rank, we have jumped a lot. We have attained the position which is 40th, and this ensures that yes, a lot of schemes that being implemented, a lot of policies that being taken up into the directions have been crucial in bringing India into the forefront, right. Further, India further is ranked first with respect to Central and Southern Asian regions, and also India is the first among the lower middle income economic group, right. And when we talk about the positioning of India, India shows that how it is evolving over the time period from getting the first position with respect to lower middle income economic group category or climbing to the 40th rank. It shows about that yes, that there have been number of policies that have been taken by the government, time and again number of schemes are being implemented, and they have been very instrumental in pushing the image you can say, or in pushing the positioning of the government in the global sphere, right. Further on, the center of global maritime trade it has to move from the Pacific to the Indian Ocean region, and it has been predicted that India and China, they will be the largest manufacturing hubs by 2030. So, that also talks about the positioning of India over the time period, and this is what being confirmed by the Invest India report that talks about that where is India presently standing at, right. So, also further talking about the connectivity to Central Asia and Europe, why that international north-south transport corridor is boosted, the connectivity to Gulf regions, why the IMEC corridor is being boosted, which is India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor, and it is projected that in the coming time, India will have a greater economic influence across the Asia Pacific region. So, if we will just summarize the same, summarize the positioning of the India as an investment choice, we will come to know about that how well India is doing. India is becoming a center of focus with this because of its connectivity, because of its strategic alliances, because of the logistical policies that it is considering upon, because of the financial structure, because of the you could say that key India is getting more startups, India coming up with those startup projects, India coming up with those tax reforms. So, that means what is India is growing with respect, and India is actually not just growing, it is emerging. it is emerging with respect to your infrastructural choices, with respect to its providing best of the services, with respect to it bringing the tax reforms, with respect to it making sure that every sector of economy is connected to the formal banking sector, then it ensuring that all the logistical output, be it your time, cost, efficiency, is attained, right. And the we are laying down the pipeline network across the nation so as to cut down the logistical cost, and to further ensure upon that we are creating small hubs at various places so as to boost the production, so as to boost the manufacturing, right. So India's positioning around the globe is rising, and that is because of the number of schemes that being taken up in the past. And as we can see that during the last 1 decade, we have grown exponentially with respect to the FDI inflows. So out of whatever investments that we got in the last 24 years, 67% is being accounted, is being accredited, attributed to your last 1 decade. So India is, with respect to the investment choices, that is when more and more nations are coming in alliance with India, boosting their bilateral relations, and we are having strategic alliances with them, strategic deals, cooperation with them, wherein the intent is to boost those bilateral ties, to connect with every part of the world. We connecting with Brunei as a part of our Act East, East policy, and to push our growth with the Asian nations, to further strengthen the you could say our industrial and our economic ties, and be it any sector, be it your fintech, your AI, education, health, onto every sector we are strengthening. We are not taking just one thing at a time, we are rather talking about growth in each and every sphere. So right from the AI to the defense to the energy, we are trying to develop such an ecosystem where we are not self-reliant, we are trying to be under this Atmanirbhar Abhiyan, we are trying to be self-reliant one. We are coming up, we are evoluting, and we are going for such an onto such a direction where we envision ourselves as a manufacturing hub. Plus moreover, not just a manufacturing hub, we focus on to providing best of the services in the world. We focus on to, because of our demographic dividend, as I mentioned, we intend to will take on benefit of this adolescent or of this youth population, that is doing, that will create more of skills, that will make us self reliant. And government with a number of schemes in place, with FTP in place, that talks about boosting the trade, that talks about bilateral trade ties, that talks about boosting the investments into the areas which are not so traditional. So diversifying to the newer markets, to the newer product categories, to bringing in more of AI, to bringing in more of cyber leaded you could say agreements with the nations, to bringing in more energy resources in India, to making utilization of your natural sources of energy, be it your hydra, be it your solar energy. So we trying to do what is that we are through a number of policies, we are trying to carve out a path for ourselves, wherein our positioning in the globe in the coming years will be much more stronger. And it is all big on account of the initiatives that being taken up, and not just these initiatives not being taken in a day or two. It is a long exercise that being taken up, and still there are number of other areas which require our immediate attentions, wherein the very role of the government also comes into the center, wherein the government will do what is, it will focus on to providing such a structure wherein now the tax reforms are much more stronger, wherein we are aiming on to becoming bringing down the cost in the NLP. So for that, what we are doing, we are bringing into structuring this Parvatmala, Sagarmala Yojana, PM Gati Shakti Yojana, we are trying to do what is, we are creating more and more of your logistical infrastructure that will do what, that will bridge the unconnected parts of India to the main center, to the main hubs, right. The development of more and more ICD centers, that will do what is, it will ease down the that compliance procedure, or to a person going to a particular place to send out the goods. So that's the government is what is doing, is it is easing out the complexities, it is creating a digital database. For example, for the custom clearance, we are having single window clearance mechanism, wherein there is one dedicated platform to provide the clearances to, and that will give you the digital clearances. You need not to go for those manual entry of the database, rather you need to do what is, you have to punch in your details, your bills, your entries, you have to procure the permissions through that digital portal only. So that is single gateway network, and that is being served through your iSgate. And moreover, it will also do what is, it will create a digital infrastructure that could be helpful for correlation of database with various other ministries, sectors. So with n number of policies, with n number of strategic deals, with various other key you could say key factors that being taken up by the government to push its economic growth, India is actually becoming a center of focus and is becoming a key place as in investment choice. So majority of nations are turning up to India, majority of companies are routing to India now because of its also India also gained a prominent position when it comes to ease of doing business. So doing a business in India is now comparatively much more easier as compared to earlier times. Now there is no that much stringent the compliance mechanism that was initially was. So that ways we can say about that we have travelled a long journey and we have been really doing good, and with respect to various alliances, they do have a major impact in pushing the growth, in pushing the investments in India. So we will be further talking about the role of various strategic partnership alliances, the role of all these visits, strategic visits, and that help us boost the bilateral ties and that boost our investments into India. And we will be talking about those deals or strategic choices in detail in the coming sessions. So till then, thank you and stay connected.